on a special morning edition. What up, Coop, man? How you doing, brother?
What up? What up? What up?
I got my Starbucks and everything, man. I'm ready to go, man. You asked for it. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane recap from their verses from Sunday night. I don't want to date our show too much, but it is what it is. It's the Tuesday after we gave everybody a chance to really kind of get their reviews out there, and we're gonna do ours because we did a preview of it. And before we get into it, I really feel like I picked better songs for Kane than he picked for himself. I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that. But yeah, what did you think about the verses, man?
I loved it. I thought it was wonderfully put together. Performance-wise, and we know this from seeing them both together live. I mean,
Right.
these are the two greatest on-stage performers in the history of rap. That was on full display on Sunday night. But also, too, part of what made it wonderful is that they employed the other elements of hip hop into the verses,
They
and
do
it was
that
the
their
first.
show too.
They
Yeah.
do that in their shows too, and that was a beautiful thing, I think, for our younger generation to see, like for them to really dedicate some time to the DJ and to the break dancers and the b-boys.
You know what? Speaking of which, and I love that part of it too. I was on Star's show yesterday. He was talking about it. And what up to Star? I know he don't like shout outs, but what up, Star? He brought up a good point though, in pointing out KRS-One's performance. He said that for a lot of younger people, and that's what made me think of that when you said the younger audience. A lot of younger people who might not be totally familiar with KRS's music like that, he doesn't feel like KRS did a really good job of executing on those records the way that they could be executed on. It was like he kind of did his alternative version of my philosophy and things like that. And I get it. You've been performing this record for 30 years and you want to switch it up, but this is the opportunity for people who haven't really, who aren't really familiar with your catalog to be able to take it in the way that they hear it on record. You know what I mean? I think Kane did a much better job of that, and I don't want to get too ahead of our show and start talking about that, but I do believe that Kane outperformed KRS in that way stylistically. But that's just, that's what I was thinking when I saw it. What do you think on that level, like when it comes to the performance side of it?
I think Star had a point because here's what I thought from watching the verses from KRS-One's perspective, from somebody who's seen him live a
Hmm.
few times now. I wouldn't call it an off night, but it wasn't his best night performance-wise.
It wasn't. Because, and again, we're rating him on a very high scale because, I mean, I've said it myself. You've said it as well. He's the best performer in hip hop. And I think a lot of that's because of the voice, the clarity, and all of that. And when you say off night, yeah, I think that the breath control, especially in relation to Kane, it was a vast difference because Kane was hitting everything, and it was almost like when Kane was hitting them with the real fast flows and shit. KRS was like, "Yo, slow it down," type of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, so okay, so this is what I mean. It's like KRS's off night. It's like, remember like when Michael Jordan would have an off night and he would go like 7 for 19 and have like 22, 23 points? That's like KRS's off night on stage. So his off night is still a pretty strong game.
Yeah,
But I think what really happened is that Kane had one of his best nights too when KRS had an off night. Because, I mean, Mike, to go to the breath control right quick, and this is one of my notes. Kane's breath control as an MC is the best ever.
it is,
That's what I realized last night. There's
especially
not
on a
a
live level,
like on
even
a
in the
live
studio,
level.
but on a live level, yeah, man.
Yeah, like on a live level and on a period level, Mike, because it's like when you go back and listen to his records and you hear him live, he sounds like the same guy in the studio that he does on stage. The delivery is the same, the clarity is the same, the punching is the same, the
In a
intensity is the
30-year
same.
difference. In a 30-year
And
difference.
30 years later, Mike,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
it's
Like,
insane. He's 53 years old.
and you want to know what I thought about? Like, do you remember like when our generation was impressed when like Jay could do like nigga what, nigga who, like on the Unplugged Live? Like
Right.
Kane did that for 2 hours last night.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm
Even
saying?
more. Even more. And it was, and then you're moving around on top of that. I mean, listen, Kane clearly, straight up, outperformed KRS.
So Mike,
Go ahead.
also too, you want to know what I like? Kane talked this shit too. Like one of my other notes is like he was like, these dudes be scared to rap at 120 BPMs. Like he's kind of pointing out how it's like, yo, these cats can spit, but like, what I mean, they can't spit like this, like with me on this level,
It was a lot of shit talking, but the shit talking was like some iconic Mount Rushmore type of shit talking. Damian Frederick says, I thought you guys were sick. It's good to have my go-to hip-hop content today. Yeah, what up, man? Tell a friend, tell a friend. We're live right now. We're going to recap this thing. We want to know what y'all thought about the verses as well. And we're going to really break it down. And I guess, obviously you got to pick a winner as a versus thing. But I want to talk about a lot of sideline things with it, too. DeCarlo says KRS was being lazy in his performance side. He had the energy but chose not to execute the performance for some reason. I agree with that. I think he was playing more to the crowd than to the, I guess, the versus television viewer per se. I think that's one fair thing too, because a person like KRS and his live performance is more so catered to the audience that's there as opposed to the audience on television that's watching, right?
That's true, but he's also KRS, and so he knows where he is and he knows what's going on, and he's a master of ceremonies, Mike. So he knows how to get agile and switch it up. So it's like we're not just gonna sit up there and necessarily say, oh well, he was just feeding more into the crowd because that's what he does. It's like that's KRS. He can do anything when he's on stage.
Did he lean more towards his catalog and the strength of his
That's what I
catalog?
think. So if you want to say lazy, it was maybe lazy in the context of he leaned heavily on the catalog because he knew he had it. And that's what I mean, Mike. He kind of treated his verses the way I treated his verses. It's like he left stuff out. He left a bunch of stuff out.
He left a bunch of stuff out. Let's go to what he did play. Let me go to the track list. He started out with Criminal Minded. Then he did Your Joint, still number one. That's the one that you started it off with.
Right. I told you our list was
came,
very comparable, Mike. Yeah.
He came with MCs Act Like They Don't Know. And then he did the MC. You know what? One of these things, too, that I want to point out, he was overlapping records. Like, a couple of times, he played two records in a setting. Like, he'll play half of a record. So, on one round, he did, let me get back to the track list. On one round, he did the MC, then he did Out of Here. And then he did Part-Time Suckers. He did You Feel That. And then he did, it was another round where it was 9mm Goes Bang, and then he did All Year. And I'm like,
I thought that was great. I thought those were that was the best pairing that he did.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then he was about to go to Self-Destruction, and Kane stopped him. I mean,
didn't Kane have a better verse?
Yeah, I think so. You know what? This is what I do want to say, though, and it's unfortunate, and I give props to Kane for going out there and performing his ass off and, bringing forth, going against somebody with a catalog that strong. It's not a lot of people in hip-hop, and we covered that like a couple of weeks ago, that have the strength of catalog as KRS. I don't think that KRS was supposed to be the matchup for Kane. It's hard for me to believe that the people at Versus weren't listening to the public. First of all, they did this, right? The fact that they actually did KRS versus Kane lets you know that they were actually listening to the culture, listening to people talk. But the talks were really a Kane versus Rakim. That's what it was all about. Kane versus Rakim. Kane versus Rakim. I find it very hard to believe that Swiss Beats, Timbaland, or whoever it versus didn't approach Rakim and be like, look, let's do this Kane versus Rakim thing. This is what the people want. I don't know, but it appears that Rakim declined that, and they had to settle for KRS versus Kane. And that puts Kane in a backward stance because really that's not his matchup, because KRS's catalog is just so long. And we saw that the other night. KRS's matchup was supposed to be, I think, LL. I think that's the best matchup for both of them. And the fact that Rakim in my opinion, I have no real facts on this. The fact that Rakim seemed to have declined what people really wanted to see. Now we're not gonna get two verses that we really needed. Now
So
there's
let's back.
nobody for LL. Now, well, Rakim's not gonna do it. It's just
Well,
there's
well,
nobody for him now.
well, hold on. Let's back up for a second.
Uh huh.
Didn't LL kind of duck KRS before the Rakim
He
Kane
did.
thing was even the thing? So that's where all of this kind of got
You're
misappropriated if
right.
you really want to get back to it, because you're saying the KRS LL thing should have happened. Well, KRS challenged LL,
My thing
correct?
is, who does LL want? You're right, because KRS got on Fat Joe's podcast and said he wanted. He said he would crush LL,
Yeah, he did. He's talking real
and then
big.
LL was asked about that, and LL said he didn't think that was a good matchup or something like that. Yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, you're right. That threw off the balance. But again, let's get back to Rakim. My favorite lyricist, by the way. You know what I mean? I hate to say these things, but that's what people really wanted. And no one was, respectfully, and I think KRS proved the other night that he is the elite MC of all the people in that conversation. And he even said that on stage. People talk about Rakim, Kane, KRS, Cool G Rap. He also highlighted the
That's
fact
right.
that Cool G Rap declined to come.
I want to get into that.
We'll get into that. And Slick Rick, and he said, I'm number one. And I think he proved that, right? But at the end of the day, man, nobody was out here saying, yo, we need a KRS versus. We need a KRS versus. People wanted that Kane and Rakim versus. And I feel like versus had to settle for the KRS and Kane because A, they're friends, they're cool, they're gonna do it anyway. And B, Rakim just wasn't going to go up against Kane. And I believe that's because Kane is such a vicious performer and Rakim wanted no parts of what we saw Kane do the other night on stage. I hate to say that as a super Rakim fan, but that's what it appears to be. I mean, we seen it. We seen it when we saw both of those guys performing a couple of months together on the same stage. Rakim didn't want to be performing side by side with Kane, and that's unfortunate because now we don't get the matchup that we really needed. And I agree with you. LL did decline the KRS, but I think if we would have kept pushing for it, it could have happened. You know what I mean? Because LL backs down from nothing. Now that's one thing we do know about LL Cool J. Battle anybody, I don't care who you tell.
Right. Except for when KRS-One challenged him.
But you remember when KRS-One went out there and apologized to LL when it appeared that he dissed LL?
Right, but we're not out here handing out hall passes to anybody, so
I
we're gonna
agree.
be talking about. We're gonna be. I mean, because to be honest with you, in order to talk about this accurately, we're gonna have to be honest about some like iconic figures. So let's go to a couple of things.
LL ducked KRS. Rakim
So we, yeah,
possibly
so,
ducked Kane. We don't know that, but we do
so
know
let's go.
LL ducked KRS.
So let's go to the Rakim thing too, because here's something that I realized last night from hearing Kane in KRS's catalog and just knowing what Rakim's catalog is.
Mm-hmm.
Rakim has the songs. He has the timeless songs. KRS actually has the longevity and the era of making great records in different eras that nobody else from that era other than LL can really say. But what I really heard is that you want to know what? Kane's production just was not as strong as Rakim's and as KRS's.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean not as strong in the sense that his records sound more dated than theirs do,
You're right.
even though it was all made around the same time. And I think that's the biggest drawback to Kane. It's like, because Mike, when I was listening to his bars, I was like, no, there's not 10 guys that can do that.
No,
And
that's real.
And so the fact that those records production-wise just sound more dated than KRS and Rakim stuff is what I think really, really hurts Kane. Because it's like I was telling you right before we got on, he has everything, and he showed it last night. This dude can dance. He can rap his ass off, Mike. There aren't too many guys that can rap with him. He has presence. He has persona. He knows history.
Versatility.
He's versatile. And Mike, he's iconic in the sense I wrote down some of the things that he was saying. Of course, we all know the song MVP by Big L is inspired from Kane's bars. It's literally taken from the bars.
Yeah.
But I was actually listening to some of the other bars. Mike, your arm's too short to box with God.
Mm-hmm.
That's Kane.
Yep.
Mike, another thing that I realize is that, he's inspired the guys that we know, but he's also inspired, like I thought about AZ yesterday. I was like, you want to know what? AZ got a lot of Kane in him with how smooth and how the flow comes out. You know what I'm saying? He's really, really iconic more than his catalog is. Like we said a couple of shows before, the catalog may not be what you want it to be, but like literally everything else is there. Like Mike, when he was jumping up and down, when the show was starting and spitting like that, I was like, who can do that?
It's insane, man. I mean,
Mike, in my lifetime, Mike, he was spitting the bar talking about in my lifetime. I'm like, that's the J shit.
Look, I'm gonna say it. Is Kane? Did we just see the other night on this Verzuz that Kane is taking the spot as hip hop's best live performer? Is Kane hip hop's best live performer? I mean, just straight up in a vacuum, because you brought up a lot of really good points. Production-wise, KRS shit is kind of catered to a live audience, right? So he has the momentum of the songs. Like when MCs Act Like They Don't Know comes in, like you're immediately like in there. Kane don't have that production help, but just in a vacuum as an individual performer, it's hard to say that anybody's a better performer than this 53-year-old Big Daddy Kane who was out there doing what we saw him do.
That was masterful, Mike.
I'm ready to say he's the best performer in hip hop.
You can, Mike. He did everything. He literally got his 53-year-old ass over the rail, got up in the crowd. He danced. He did the old school move with what's his name when he bought him out. Like he did everything, Mike. Freestyles, bars, like you. Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of the choice of doing 4 freestyles. And I want to get into that because I think that Kane, he outperformed KRS. For the people who are just coming in the room, we're going to get to the chat too because y'all are commenting a lot. We want to know who y'all think, won the Verzuz. But I think that Kane outperformed KRS. I'll say that again. But if we're going to crown a winner, it's going to have to be KRS based on the records, right? Because this is Verzuz and it is about the strength of the records and all that. And Kane had very small room for error when it comes to selecting records. And I think him doing 4 freestyles wasn't a good choice. I think people saw what Jada did on that Dipset and Locks Verzuz and was like, okay, that opened up a door so we can do some freestyles or whatnot. But that, Who Shot Your freestyle is, that's one of those things that once it dropped, people knew what it was. You're not going to hit people with, new freestyles. And if you're going to do that, do one. I know, let me go to my list real quick. I'm going to go to my list.
I was cool with him doing 2 freestyles. I do feel like 4 was too much, but I can take 2 freestyles from Kane. It's Kane.
From, at the top of the show and maybe towards the bottom of the show. You want to separate them, but they all kind of came together.
Yeah, they all kind of stacked in.
They came during a time period where it seemed like he was running out of records too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really spaced out too well. But, what you said about the production is on point because when you listen to Platinum Plus, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difference. Like you can hear it. It's like, no. He need more of that.
Yeah, he does. And he was taking it on.
I told you that was that verse that just reminded cats. It's like, yo, that's Kane. Like give Kane a primo beat. Like you see what it sound like. Like
I think a couple of songs that I chose that he didn't put in his show was Class of '87.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he would have done that.
He could have done that instead of one of the freestyles. That would have been a better look.
He should have done Macula's Theory. I mean,
that was the biggest omission, I think, especially when he was doing the whole pimp talk thing.
Yeah, man. I'm not mad at him doing Pimpin' Ain't Easy or whatnot with, you know what I'm saying?
No, he could have done them both back to back. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like his old pimp shit, his new pimp shit, Because what his track list was looking like, I'm going to go down his track list, and I got it on the screen for the people in the chat or people that are watching live.
But let me go to the chat real quick since I mentioned that. TJ said, I think Kane had better breath control, but KRS had the crowd and the bigger songs. Yeah, that was the telltale of the night.
Yeah, the record.
Terminator 2, what up, Terminator? He says, the Big L joint Kane did killed KRS's whole catalog. Terminator thinks that Kane won. King Mark says, Kane was spitting fire in those freestyles, though. He was. But again, Verzuz is about the records.
Like, you're not going to hear no, like, like if Kane's doing a freestyle, it's about to be some shit. So that's not really, we expecting him to do that.
All right, so Kane did Just Rhyming, Enough Respect. I like Enough Respect being number 2.
I like Enough Respect.
I like Young, Gifted, and Black coming in after that. Set It Off, Mortal Kombat. I Get the Job Done. It was a not a miss, but there's a typo here. It says Get the Job Fun. Get the Job Done. Pimpin' Ain't Easy. Raw. And then he jumped into like 2 freestyles. See, that's when it seemed like, he was running out of records. Like if he was going to do these freestyles, I would have liked him to be, kind of sectioned out throughout his catalog. Smooth Operator. He did the Wrath of Kane. Ain't No Half Steppin'. These are heavy records. Platinum Plus. Then another freestyle. And another victory. He did the Symphony. And he ended it with Warm It Up Kane. Speaking of the Symphony, you wanted to get into that Kool G Rap thing?
Yeah, I also want to say, we need to go back and give Long Live the Kane its props. Like, it's a classic album, and people know it, but not enough people talk about it. And those records from that album, more than anything else, because that is obviously the strongest part of his catalog, that was on full display last night. And so, like, we need to give Long Live the Kane, like, that classic album some more, just some more flowers, because it doesn't normally get mentioned as often as it should with the other classic albums from his era.
I think it hurts because it came right after Paid in Full.
Right.
And same year as Follow the Leader too. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look. Again, I understand that Kane is the best performer in hip hop, and Rakim is just, to me, the greatest lyricist in hip hop, and probably not the strongest performer when you look at those two. But he's a strong performer. I'm not going to say he's not.
How about this?
I've seen him live many times.
How about this, Mike? Kane is closer to Rakim as a lyricist than Rakim is closer to Kane as a performer. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But he still should have done it, man. That would have been love, man. Because at the end of the day, that conversation's not going to go away. Just like the Nas and Jay thing, even if niggas went out there and let's just say Nas and Jay did a versus, everybody's going to have their opinion anyway. Like, most of the people who fuck with Nas are going to go that way. Most of the people that fuck with Jay are gonna go that way. So I don't understand why the Rakim and Kane thing didn't happen, because it just put Kane in a position against somebody who just has a long catalog. It's a mismatch in that way, and we all see that Kane outperformed KRS, and the only deciding factor here was just the fact that KRS just kept coming with hits.
Right, he did. And you want to know what I realized last night about KRS real quick, and then we can get into the Symphony thing in G-Rap? Step Into a World is a more important record than even I thought in KRS's catalog. People went crazy when that shit dropped. I was like, oh, y'all love that record like that?
It's dope, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I mean, I love that record. I didn't know because, that was probably the last big hit record. That was his last hit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, he was the one that kind of took on what LL Cool J's doing right now with Rock the Bells, which I think is great, like being an ambassador for his era. Like, KRS took on that in the 90s.
Right.
And I think when records like Step Into a World came out, it was like, oh shit, this nigga's taking it back. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so he took on that persona early, and I think that added to his longevity too. I think that there was for those elites, and we're about to get into G-Rap because he's in that class with KRS, Kane, Rakim, yada yada. KRS, Rakim, Kane, Kool G Rap, whatever. I think a lot of them were struggling to find identities in the 90s. in that next era of hip hop, and KRS didn't struggle with that. KRS knew who he was. He was the teacher. He took on that persona, and he rode with it, and he
Well,
was
hold
able to
on. See,
continue.
but he took that persona early in the '80s, and so as he became like kind of like a OG in the game and a gatekeeper, he had set himself up to be that.
Yeah, you're right.
He set himself up
Before
to
you
be
get
that.
into G-Rap, how do you feel about the fact that KRS left LL out of that? Not to get on LL again, but he said Slick Rick, him, G-Rap, Rakim, and Kane. How do you feel about the fact that LL was left out of that? You think that was an accident, or just, LL's not in those conversations?
Here's the thing about it, Mike, and here's always been the thing with LL. No, Mike, that was the conversation. LL was always considered to be six. It was like those guys were the greatest MCs. And then after that, it was LL, because like KRS was talking on some rap shit. You know what I'm saying? And on some rap shit, those were the conversations. It was like the MCs were Rakim, KRS-One, Kane, Cool G Rap, and Slick Rick. And LL was a dope ass MC, but he made hit records more than he was a dope ass MC the way those guys were.
I have
and
a theory.
Slick Rick was kind of probably the one that was kind of in between, because the style wise and voice wise, he was able to do things that those other guys weren't doing. And that's kind of why KRS even brought him up last, because everybody knew Slick Rick was great, but he wasn't like lyrically inclined in terms of the way he put his songs together, the way that Kane and Rakim and G-Rap and KRS did. Slick Rick and LL actually are a little before them, and so the way they put songs together is different.
Well, the thing about Slick Rick, too, he brought something into the game. I mean, the people were telling stories before, but he elevated that level of the game. You know what I'm saying? And
he changed it. He changed it.
And he was making records that were huge. I mean, it's arguable for anybody in that era that, the Great Adventures of Slick Rick, probably the best album of all of them. I'm going to go with Paid in Full. But for somebody in that era, you look at songs like Teenage Love, you look at songs like A Children's Story, you look at songs like Mona Lisa.
So Mike, I want you to stop for a second, because you want to know what my real takeaway from yesterday's verses was? Slick Rick and LL need to do a verses, because Slick Rick's hits are so monstrous that it is enough to contend with LL. Because listen to this. Like, we're talking about the author of Lottie Dottie, The Show, and Children's Story, Mike. Those three records are bigger than any three records that any of those other five guys we talked about have, and that's LL included. How about that?
What LL got for Hey Young World?
Mike, that's what I'm about to say. Then you go to stuff like Mona Lisa, Teenage World, Hey Young Love, and then he can go to like some of the street talking stuff, Frozen with Raekwon, like some of the stuff that he did in the 90s, like Slick Rick and LL is actually a good versus. They actually come from the same time.
That, you know what? You might not know this, but I know this because, I do a lot of journalistic work for According to Hip Hop. They have the same birthday too. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
But it is fascinating. I hate to say it, I just think that Slick Rick, if he had one more album, or maybe one more album that's slightly comparable to The Great Adventures, or two more albums that have a marginal amount of hits on it, then I would say yes. But I just think that, unfortunately, Slick Rick just doesn't have enough if we talking about going 20 for 20 with LL. But I agree with you. The ones that he would play, LL ain't got no answer for. And that's just real. And I thought that was very interesting that he was in that, little blurb that KRS put out there and not LL. Because, I don't know, I've always thought that people just mention, and again, I grew up in the 90s, so I've always been told by my OGs that it was KRS, Cool G Rap, Rakim, and Kane. I've never heard Slick Rick even inserted in that conversation like that, but KRS did it, so he feels highly of him. I would like to see Slick Rick do it, honestly, and I'm trying to think of maybe some of the features that Slick Rick has that could probably contend with that kind of helps his catalog going. But yeah, I don't think that's as bad as a matchup, because LL, there's nobody else out there for LL, honestly, other than Slick Rick, because people are saying Busta Rhymes, but I just think that that's just such an era difference.
Yeah, it is. It's too much of an era difference, especially for how Busta has kind of slid into other eras too.
I don't think there's anybody else out there for Busta either. You know,
Not truly,
yeah.
not truly. But
LL's
yeah,
live performance is crazy. That's what Terminator said.
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying though. This Slick Rick. I mean, you know, Dougie Fresh gonna come out and like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a whole performance too. These are like the guys from this era. I mean, they're all performers.
Could we play stuff that has sampled Slick Rick?
I mean that that's endless, Mike. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. Like, what
that's what
if
I'm
he were to
saying. We
do
could
Lottie
get
Dottie?
creative.
Like, what if he were
Yeah,
to do Lottie Dottie and then have Snoop come out and do his? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Now I know you said this about Kane a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last episode or whatnot, that Kane's impact has superseded his catalog. Slick Rick is definitely that. He's probably the catalyst of that. Like Slick Rick's impact, he's like your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. At least
He
my
is.
favorite rapper's favorite rapper. I mean, clearly
He's
Ghostface is
my
in.
favorite rapper's favorite rapper too. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like Mike. There's a picture. Like, I think if I'm not mistaken, like the only rapper hanging in Nas's house is the painting he has of Slick Rick. Like, what does that tell you?
Nas is clearly from the Slick Rick tree. Ghostface is from the Slick Rick tree. Q-Tip is from the Slick Rick tree.
Jay, Mike.
You think Jay is Slick Rick
Kind of
personified?
too, because he's like kind of charismatic. He's witty. You know what I'm saying? He's very like poignant, like the way that he kind of delivers stuff is kind of off kilt. Like, yeah, he is to a degree too. I mean, he's more of a Kane guy, but I mean, like you can hear the influence from all these guys and the guys that came after them who are great. And Slick Rick is one of those guys. And Mike, I'm also with you on this too. From that era, outside of Paid in Full, I think The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick is the best album from that era.
It probably is. I mean, that shit
Like,
is
I mean,
crazy.
I would say
Like just like we say about Paid in
like
Full, I
Paid in
think.
Full, It Takes a Nations, and The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick.
Well, the difference between those are definitely the three. And I think It Takes a Nation could possibly be the greatest hip hop album ever. But that's on some other shit. But as far as like
Arguably.
the way that Paid in Full and Great Adventures are put together, I think both of those albums are like one of the few hip hop albums that you can state that have 3 to possibly 4 top 50 hip hop songs on them all time. Like I think Mona Lisa is possibly a top 50. I
No,
think
it is.
that Hey Young World is a top 50. And I know that Children's Story is a top 50.
And you didn't even bring up Teenage Love.
I didn't even bring up Teenage Love. I
And
mean,
Mike,
that would
and
be a
here's what I mean:
stretch.
the catalog is deeper than you think because it's that album is so great. It's like Slick Rick can perform almost that whole album. Like, he's gonna play The Ruler's Back, The Moment I Feared, Let's Go
Yeah.
Crazy, Lick the Balls, Treat Her Like a Prostitute. Like, he can perform all those songs. Those are all great records.
He could get creative and, like I said, do some of the stuff that is clearly inspired by him, or "We Like the Party" from Beyonce or something that
Like, he
samples
could,
him,
like
or "Guess Who's Back," "The Ruler's Back." You know what I mean? Shit like
right.
that. Like he could, yeah.
Mike, he can get the 20 tracks though, because he can do about 10 off that one album. He's got Lottie Dottie in the show. He's got Street Talking. He's got Frozen with Raekwon.
He's gonna
I mean,
need
he
a
can even go.
director.
He can go sitting in my car with JD and play that if he wants to. He's got enough to get through it.
Yo, my nigga, that song with JD is incredible. That's actually my favorite Jermaine Dupri song, "Fresh."
Really?
Fresh is crazy.
Yeah,
Fresh is crazy.
Yeah, Mike, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he got stuff. He can do it. He can do it with L. It's more
Yeah,
than doable.
you know what? You brought up a good point, man. I would like to see Slick Rick and LL. That's the only person left for him. I mean, maybe KRS was putting the nugget out for that. I don't know, but yeah, I think
Because here's the thing, Mike. Listen to these records from Slick Rick we just named. What LL got for a lot of those?
No, you're real. You know
Yeah,
what?
it'd be good.
I have a topic that was requested, and I want to say this respectfully,
We
but
getting requests.
yeah, getting requests. Do you think that Fat Joe was possibly the I guess the weakest versus competitor we've seen so far in hip hop? Like, did Fat Joe really need a versus?
I mean, that's a loaded question.
I don't
I
know
mean,
if he had. Well, I guess he does have the catalog for it, but
he has the least notoriety in terms of legendary status of
Right.
anybody who's done the verses, if that's what you mean. Yes.
yeah, because you got
He's not
legendary
considered-
status
like
and then
he's
you got
not
hits.
he's not considered iconic the way like DMX or Snoop or the two guys who performed last night. No, but he is somebody that is integral and important part of this culture and always has been, kind of from the moment he stepped in the game.
I think that, again, like we said when we were recapping the Ja Rule and Fat Joe versus, I think what he did was admirable because he was the one that was going to give Ja Rule that shot. Because nobody else was going against Ja Rule, because Ja Rule, for whatever reason, in this industry has been ostracized.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. People act like what Ja Rule didn't happen or something. Like, and I respect the fact that Fat Joe went out there and used that as an opportunity for people to remember how much Ja Rule has done in his career.
Like, he was going double, triple platinum, like, consecutively, and, like, was, like, yeah, like, it's doing major numbers.
Terminator says, Fat Joe is iconic, shaking my head.
Yeah, Mike, he's part of the Digging in the Crates crew. Yeah, he's legendary. Jealous One's Envy.
He gave us Big Pun.
Yeah, Mike, he's made hit records and he's made street anthems. Like, yeah, Joe's iconic.
He's actually the catalyst of, the Puerto Rican, well, I don't want to just say Puerto Rican, but like
just the whole
the
Latino
Latin hip hop movement. Because the Beat Nuts, they're Dominican. I fuck with the Beat Nuts, man.
Juju's crazy.
Juju's crazy with it, man. The Beat Nuts was always consistent. That's one of my groups that...
Off the books, man, that's one of my favorite hip-hop records.
Yeah, when I start listening to Beat Nuts records, I probably end up listening to about 4 or 5 of them, and then it just keeps on going. So, yeah, I mean, I think Joe was the person that opened the door for that. He kept it going. I mean, Joe gave us Pun, and I got to say Joe gave us Remy Ma, too, right? I think that's fair.
Pun, yeah.
Well, I mean, Pun, obviously she was signed to Pun, but when Pun passed, he kept it going with her. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's what I mean. He's an important part of his culture, Mike. I mean, he's on, if I'm not mistaken, he's on KRS's Return of the Boom Bap album. That's what I'm saying. He's been around this shit for a minute, and he's got his own catalog to speak of. And I mean, he's been around and rubbed shoulders with the best of the best. And here's what I mean. He's an integral part of the culture. Like, he respects the culture. Like, he was doing, remember when they were doing that flashback with him and Big Les? He was in his store called Halftime. He named that after the Nas record because Nas is his favorite MC. Like, he's part of this culture like that.
I think he's more of a glue guy too because again, he gave us John Blaze, and we got a song because of his album. We got a song with Nas, Pun, Raekwon, and Jadakiss. You know what I'm saying? Like, he puts those things together. But it's interesting though, and I think a lot of people in the chat are saying that Joe's not iconic because if I ask you straight up, what's Fat Joe's best verse? Can you tell me?
His best verse?
In the chat, what is Fat Joe's best verse? We got like 46 people in the room. What's your favorite Fat Joe verse? Because usually when you got an MC, and he's not whack by no means, you know what I mean? He's a dope MC. He can rap. But it's hard for people to really pinpoint, you know what I mean? Because I had to think about that. When somebody asked me, like, what's Fat Joe's best verse? I'm like,
You want to know what? I just love him and Pun on Deep Cover 98 so much. So that's what I was immediately think of. Him on Deep Cover 98, that's my favorite shit that he's doing. I don't know why. Like, I feel what you're saying. He doesn't have no verbal intercourse. You know, he doesn't have that, like by any means. He's never been that though, Mike, but he's been wildly consistent in an important part of this culture. Something needs to be said for that.
Well, I guess that's a tough question for anybody, right? Like, what's your favorite T.I. verse? Or what's T.I.'s best verse? You know what I mean? And he's somebody that we know has spazzed on records. But I'm sure you have a short list there. You know what I'm saying?
That third verse on Talking to You comes to mind.
That's funny you said that. I was thinking about that. When you said third verse, that's the first thing that popped in my mind. Yeah. I actually liked his third verse on What's Up, What's Happening, too. That was a strong
Mike, that's funny. That's the other one I was thinking about. That verse crazy, too. Those are my two favorite Tip verses.
I don't know if it's his best verse. Obviously, I like the man. This was on Uncut back in the day.
Mike, What's Up, What's Happening is like one of the most greatest diss records that's never talked about. That
it is, man. That shit was hard. That shit hard. I like Riding in the City and Letter with the Bevels. The first verse on what's the name of that song? You know what I'm talking about. Hold on. Anybody trying grand hustle folk, I'm busting folk. I like a lot of T.I.'s mixtape stuff though. So you
Yeah, I
know
was
what
about
I'm
to say, there
saying?
you go. I
Like,
knew he was about to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You,
So
you know what you feel the way about T.I.'s mixtapes the way I feel about Jeezy's mixtapes. It's like I'd rather hear the mixtape shit actually half the time.
I could probably pinpoint my favorite Jeezy verse before I could Fat Joe. That's wild, and I wonder why. And I'm not even a Jeezy fan like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know, man. It's like a lot of Fat Joe's verses. I mean, they're dope, but they kind of run together, right?
He's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, go into what you were saying about Cool G Rap, because Cool G Rap actually went out. Well, I'm sorry, excuse me. The symphony was performed and Cool G Rap wasn't there. Craig G was there, and God, what's wrong with me? You know, I'm talking about
Master Ace.
Master Ace was there. Master Ace came out there, and then Craig G came in, and then they went straight to Kane's verse, and then after that, KRS basically said that they invited Cool G Rap, but he declined. What you think about that?
So, Mike, you're asking Cool G Rap to come. Now, of all the guys that we've been talking about from this era, who's the most unheralded?
Cool G Rap. But let's get into the why, though.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
So let's get into the why. You want to know? Let's
He
get
just
into
don't
the
have
why.
the hits records that those guys have. He has very dope records, very consistent records, great MC. But we can't say that he has, ain't no half stepping. I mean, just don't. You know what I mean?
I mean, he's mostly the author of like New York East Coast gangster rap, though, Mike. Like Mobb Deep and Griselda are here because Cool G Rap.
No,
You know
real
what
shit.
I'm saying? And so he's not showing up like some sort of guest appearance. Like he's Cool G Rap, and for most of his career, he's had to be the guy that's the least mentioned. And so, and on this song, even the competition with him and Kane, even on that song, like he not showing up for just a verse, Mike, because he looking at it like I'm Cool G Rap. Where's my verses?
Okay. All right. Well, all right. Let me.
He's Cool G Rap. Like, no, Mike, look at the other cats that came out last night and tell me that Cool G Rap fits coming out like that, because
I agree with what you're
Cool G
saying.
Rap.
I agree with
He
what
ain't
you're saying.
No.
I just think that the fact that KRS pointed it out, I don't know how to feel about that. And
Little shady.
you and I, we keep talking about it, but we just saw this old school hip hop fest a couple of months ago in Atlanta. The lineup, the lineup featured all of them. It featured, Kool Moe D, featured KRS, Kane, Rakim, Kwame was there. You don't think Cool G Rap was asked to be on that tour?
No.
You don't think he was? If he wasn't
Maybe.
asked to be on that, that's a problem. Why? You know what I mean? Because honestly, that tour was supposed to happen in 2020, and you know who was on that bill? That wasn't on the next one. It was Slick Rick. So obviously, all of them are down.
Slick Rick can go do a show solo overseas whenever he wants and get his
No.
bread.
I think the reason why he wasn't at that was because of his conflict interest.
Right.
Did you change something on your sound? Because I'm like getting some feedback now.
No, I haven't changed anything. You want me to cut it down a little bit? I did speak up into the microphone a little bit.
Oh, no, you good. Okay, yeah, that's better. But
yeah, I mean, that's Cool G Rap is what I'm saying. And so, like, Kane and KRS are getting, their flowers as icons, and Cool G Rap's like, no, like, I'm right there too. I'm not showing up like to do a verse and then be out,
Nah, I feel that. So you think that
could have hurt that could have hurt his legacy potentially. You get what I'm saying?
Why do you think he's not on that tour though? You think he just don't?
I mean, and I don't like getting into personal stuff too much in terms of like some of the stuff that I hear, but a long time ago that I heard that, he had to move to Arizona for health reasons.
Okay.
And that was a long time ago that happened. And so when I hear that he's not like maybe on tour, I don't know if that's maybe personal, familial, or health related. I know that a long time ago when we were younger, he moved to Arizona about, health related, things. So,
Well, I agree with you
these dudes not
100%,
young.
though.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you 100% in the fact that, him coming out there almost as a prop
Yeah, that's
wouldn't have been
Cool
a
G Rap.
great look for him and his
Yeah,
legacy because, again, he needs to be showcased as well. And I don't know if it's in a versus format or whatever, or if it's like some unplugged type thing, like what they did with Rakim's Paid in Full, like maybe 5, 6 years ago or whatnot, when he got back by the Roots. Might have been longer than that, but yeah, he needs his props. Again, I don't know how to feel about the fact that KRS pointed out that they invited him and he declined. I don't know if he was saying that just because he knew that people would ask. Maybe that's where that was coming from, but I guess that could have been done in a better way.
Hey, Mike, I got something for you. You want to know somebody who respects Eminem and Eminem's rhyme style?
Who's
Cool
that?
G Rap, and he said it on record and talked about Eminem and Eminem's rhyme style on record and respecting it. Just giving you something to go.
I
off
was
of.
thinking
Just think
about something
that.
along those lines the other day. I was listening to Paid in Full and I was listening to The Rhyme Goes On. And, that whole I am whatever I say I am, line came from the Rakim record. And I'm like, other than the fact that Rakim was on Aftermath at the time, of course Rakim's going to give Eminem props. He's getting paid off of that record.
But Cool G Rap don't have no reason to
No,
do
I'm
it.
just saying. I was talking
about You always try. See, you always got some sort of dissent. Some sort of dissent. Just
But
let you know, somebody like Cool G Rap happens to think Eminem can rhyme his ass off.
Well, I want to see the interview. I want to see.
I'm gonna go find the clip because it was like from one of those like hip hop documentaries, and like somebody has shot me the link. But G Rap is sitting in the talking about like M style. I think he talked about Nas a little bit too.
Well, see, my thing is, and maybe I think I know what you're talking about. I think it was one of those rap documentaries that were talking about technique. But with the Eminem conversation, it normally comes across where it's like an interviewer, like a Vlad or something, will ask somebody about Eminem, and it's like, what's the nigga supposed to say? They'd be like, if you're sitting in the chair and the interviewer's like, so what do you think about Eminem? You're supposed to say.
But I mean, Mike, this is Cool G Rap talking. This is a
tactician
on the mic of the highest order. And when I mean of the highest order, I'm talking about word play, words chosen, and how to flip the words. Nobody better than Cool G Rap.
Well, you know what? I would give him a follow-up question and be like, so what Eminem songs is you bumping? Cool G Rap, for real. Hey, really? I mean, I feel you. Like, the nigga got rhyme schemes and shit, but are you jumping in your whip? You know what I'm saying? While you listening to Mobb Deep and you skipping over to the real Slim Shady. I mean, just let me know.
Cool G Rap's not showing up to get a verse. Cool G Rap's gonna do a verses. Other than that, he's not showing.
I think Cool G Rap has been very consistent too.
Like Channel Live, Das FX, Craig G, Master Ace, Roxanne, like all respect and props due to them. They not Cool G Rap.
Oh no. They know that.
Everybody know that. Even kind of asking him to show up is kind of like asking to get cursed out. You know what I'm saying?
I think, I don't know this for a fact. I think I heard somebody was saying, and maybe somebody in the chat can confirm this. They were saying that Rakim was actually in the building. Was that true?
That wouldn't be surprising.
I'm sorry, man. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we should have had.
And here's the thing too, and here's what I want to say about Kane. The main reason that the Kane Rakim thing probably didn't happen is because of what Kane can do live with his records that sound just like the studio version that Rakim can't do. Like, can Rakim do Follow the Leader live the way that we want to hear it live from beginning to end?
Eric Jackson says, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's...
No, go ahead. No, I'm done.
He said, Eminem is hard. Y'all racist. Come on, man.
First of all...
No. That's directed towards me. You can chill on that. You've been giving him props. I said nothing about him being white at all. You know what, Eric Jackson, I know you might be trolling. Tell me how I'm racist when it comes to Eminem's catalog.
I just brought up Cool G Rap giving Eminem props. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm sorry, man. If me not liking the real Slim Shady, I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady, makes me racist, I don't really understand. It's just a whack
No,
ass song. I mean, it
no,
is
it
what
just
it
makes you
is,
shady
man.
sometimes, but not racist, Mike.
We
What are
talking
we
about
doing?
music, man. The songs are whack. I was listening to Scary Movie yesterday morning. You know, I like the one man on the planet that could jump off of the Grand Canyon, hop out of the Grand Dam, and land in a handstand. He changed his style. He did. Like after Eminem got away from that whole role model style and role model flow, the Slim Shady LP, I was a
Hmm.
lot, I was less interested. And then now, since he sounds like a grumpy old man, I'm really not interested. The Eminem
Okay.
show was the last time I was interested in some Eminem records. And I think I'm a Soldier is one of my favorite Eminem records. I think Lose Yourself is probably his best record. But you can't sit here and tell me that We Made You is fire or something. You can't tell me I'm not afraid is fire. Come on, man. Let's just be real. And I'm a Jay fan too, and I went hard on Jay last week for not having a solo hit record since 2009. So I'm really not gonna hold no punches on Slim Shady for not having a dope album since 2002. We're talking 20 years, man. 20 fucking years. Come on, of subpar material. It's what it is. It's what it is. Darnell
Cool.
Lee says M. Ben Samid. And it ain't because he's white either. I want to clear that up too. Because I fucked with Mac Miller, what Mac Miller was doing on the mic. I thought Mac Miller was dope. And I think that even when we were talking about groups last episode, Beastie Boys are the shit. Beastie Boys on some other shit.
They do be on some other shit.
I fuck with the Beastie Boys. And Paul's Boutique is brilliant. Doesn't get mentioned
So,
enough.
so Cool G Rap probably always felt like he played second fiddle on the symphony. He wasn't about to show up and play second fiddle last night too.
I feel you. I feel you.
Because Cool G Rap's verse on the symphony is just as good as Kane's. Kane just has the punchline.
I mean, it's a huge debate. Like, I think
Huge
lyrically, Cool G Rap's verse is better. I think that Kane's execution
Yeah,
was a
Marley
little bit
gives
better.
the splice. I get nice, and I'm twice as horrifying as Vincent Price. Yeah,
Yeah.
he ain't going in.
Darnell Lee said, and he didn't just say this. He said this further up in the chat, and I remember he asked what we thought about Remy Ma and where she's ranked or something like that.
Transition.
That transitions us to the ABC special that happened last night. It was I want to get the title right. I don't want to just make it up, but they covered females in hip hop and they talked about the history of female hip hop. I think it's in some promotional kind of crossover for that new show that Eve, Brandy, Notori from 3LW, and some other young lady are in. It's called Queens, and it's about like a
I've seen
fictitious.
some stuff.
Yeah, so
I've
I
seen
think
some
that they
stuff.
did this, the real queens of hip hop. Yeah, because they put that in the title. The women who changed the game. I think they did that special in promotion of that. Remy didn't get covered a lot on that, and rightfully so. I just don't. I think Remy is dope. I think she can rap. She's got a couple of verses on some really big songs. She just doesn't have a catalog. And it was interesting because after this Cool G Rap, not Cool G Rap, got Cool G Rap on my mind now. After this KRS and Kane Verzuz, people were talking about some other verses that could happen. And people were throwing Remy's name out there, like the Brat and shit like that. And I'm like, Remy just don't have a catalog, respectfully. Like, I think Remy's dope.
Kind of what happened to Remy too is that Remy came along when hip hop was one way, and then when she got out, hip hop was another way.
I think, you know what? I want to stop there, though. You're right. She had an incredible career. The fact that you're able to bounce back from being incarcerated for 8 years, that's fucking incredible, period, no matter how you slice it.
Mike, ain't no other male rapper did that shit.
You're right. Yeah, no, you're right. Shine's
Right.
out there in Belize, doing
So-
his thing, but
so-
he left the rap alone.
Right. So part of the reason why she doesn't have the catalog is because the game was different, and Remy didn't have to do that, as in go into the and make an album to make her fucking bread. You feel me?
Yeah.
There was other avenues and lanes, And she was wise to pursue them. She didn't have to rely on the album. So she has material, but the reason that it's not there is because the game changed.
I think what you said is on point. I think she made the smartest decision for her, to go in that other lane and
Bag, get the bag.
I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, that's the for sure bag. You know what I'm saying? And
It's a for sure
anytime you go
bag.
out there and put the music out there, especially with her having to come back around pretty much as a new artist, because
Right.
it's not like she was already like 2 albums in and had to continue. She would be basically coming out there as a new artist, and that's a really big risk. And she made the right decision. Blackberry Molasses said, "Did Foxy Brown get any shine?"
We about to talk about that.
I found that odd too, Blackberry Molasses. They skipped right over Foxy Brown. Now I do want to give them props for giving Shy LaRock her props, right? And I love the fact that they started with Shy LaRock from Funky 4+1 and her impact and her bar. She was spitting, man. They showed some old footage of her, and even when they were interviewing her now, like, yo, she was nice. I always thought that. I'm like, yo, man, Charlotte Rock was killing it. Especially we talk about 78, 79. Crazy. But I want to give them props for actually showcasing her. But the fact that Foxy Brown just got totally omitted, I think that's a problem. I don't understand why. I mean, obviously, we talking about network television. We talking about politics. And I can't help but think because Eve is a part of this current show. Now, I'm not saying that any of this is on Eve, but she probably was a big part of this show. Everybody involved in this show should have made sure that Foxy was highlighted. Now I know Kim was highlighted, but they didn't interview Kim, so I can't put this on Kim. You know, I think Kim is the easy target, right? Kim is the easy person to say, yo, this is on Kim, but Kim wasn't even on the show. The people that were getting interviewed on the show were the Brat, Foxy Brown, Eve. I'm trying to think of people from that era. MC Light was another one who was like pretty much the whole moderator of this thing because, MC Light's the moderator and narrator of a lot of things. And I just find it odd that they allow Foxy Brown to be omitted, man. Like, somebody's going to have to, do some sort of post or something about that. Like, some of the women that were on there, they got to say something about that because that's not cool.
It's very problematic. Somebody need to fix this shit.
Yeah, that's not cool, man. Regardless of how people feel about individuals in their personal relationships, because obviously it's a personal thing. It's not like Foxy Brown's R. Kelly or something. You know what I'm saying? However you feel about the person personally, that doesn't change what they've done in the culture and their impact. And
what has she done that is so
I
egregious
have no
that
idea.
she deserves to be omitted from this? Like, it is a glaring omission.
Are her
It's a glaring
and Jay
omission.
good now? Because
Huh?
are her and Jay good now? Because her and Nas are good.
I mean, Mike, she done tore shit up with so many people when she was younger, and I get it, but I'm saying, like, there is no talk. This is what I keep talking about, and how we keep on having to like address like certain matters in terms of how hip hop gets covered.
Right.
It's like, if you want to take on the task, do the job without bias.
Your
Do it
daughter's
without
in ninth grade.
restrictions.
Your daughter's in ninth grade. Her and her friends could be watching this, and this could be, I guess some of their. I mean, obviously you're raising her, so it's different for her. But some of her peers could be watching this, and this is their window into what the legacy of female hip hop is. And with somebody like Foxy Brown being left out, they're like, "Who's Foxy Brown?" This was an opportunity, and I think it's unfortunate that for whatever reason they felt to omit the obvious. Moni Love was in there. They gave Moni Love shine, and obviously Moni Love is, she's in radio, she's connected, so they're not gonna leave Moni Love out, and I'm glad they didn't. I fucking love Moni Love. I think she was awesome. But Foxy Brown was big, man, and they kind of gave Kim all the credit for just that shift. And I guess that they made that shift from the Brat in that era to the sexy, female MC. And clearly Kim changed the game for all of that. But Kim and Foxy changed it together.
I'm about to say it's the same time.
Yeah, same time.
It's happening at the same time.
It's happening at the same time. And
happening at the same time.
And they just omitted. They even talked about the East Coast, West Coast shit. And that had nothing to do with female hip hop. And shout out to Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo was a part of it too. Yo-Yo's cool people, man. I did an interview with her last year.
You've interviewed Yo-Yo before.
Yeah, I did an interview with her,
yeah,
and she didn't even have to do it. Like, she was cool as hell.
Yeah.
She had a flat tire, and she still did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she was chilling outside the whip, Mike. I was watching live.
Yeah. I fuck with Yo-Yo. Great people, man. But, yeah, man, it's odd that somebody like Foxy, because they covered pretty much everything, and I think they did a really good job of covering pretty much everything. I think JJ Fad might have been left out, but that's, that's just super critiques. We talk about network television. But
they get an F. They get an F.
They talked about the East Coast, West Coast shit. I don't even know why the East Coast, West Coast shit was even a topic. And y'all skipped over Fox?
Mike, if I had to go to a cipher, and it was a cipher for female MCs, she's the person I'm putting my money on.
I told you when we were listening to that West Side Gun, Fly God 2.
She won't put my money on.
No, I feel you.
In her prom, give me Foxy in her prom. I'm taking her to the cipher. You bring your best female MC. I'm taking your money.
When we were listening to Fly God 2 last year, when I heard Armani Caesar for the first time on that record, I hit you up. It's like, yo, that shit's hard. That shit reminded me of Foxy. And when Foxy used to get on some hardcore shit, I would give Kim that crossover, credit. But when it came to jumping on the I Shot Ya remixes and shit like that, like, Foxy's voice just sound right over that shit, man.
She spazzes.
Yeah,
Mike.
Man. And Take You Home Tonight. Take You Home Tonight's a big record.
It is, but you want to know what she has in the brevity of her catalog that a lot of other female MCs don't have, Mike? She has a lot of quality just tracks that aren't hit records. Like, Foxy knew how to write and how to spit too. Like, she even addresses it on Broken Silence, like how people always looked at it like Jay and Nas wrote your shit. She like, nah, so what? He wrote some songs. I blew them up the same. Like, Foxy can spit.
Is
DK
she not,
Anthem.
Is she not the highlight of Jay-Z's first big song? Or first hit song?
I mean, Ain't No Nigga is his breakthrough.
I think they let Rhapsody out too. That's a whole nother subject. Shout out to Life the Poet. They did leave Rhapsody out, and what they did, and I understand, again, this is network television, this is ABC, so they're in pocket with all the major labels, right? They acted like right before Nicki came, there were no female MCs out there. No, there were no female MCs on the major label, but people like Rhapsody was rocking, people like Jean Grey was rocking, and people who really listen to hip-hop knew that there were some dope female MCs out here making some of the best music that, they were in the prime of their careers. They just weren't signed in the majors. That's a whole nother subject. But omitting Foxy, man, that reeks of something. That reeks of Isaiah
of politics
being
and industry.
Yeah, that reeks of Isaiah being left off the dream team. Who has Foxy pissed off?
And so we're going to have to bring this up. Didn't they do Ladies of Hip Hop honors ceremony about 2 or 3 years ago, correct?
They did.
Wasn't Foxy omitted from that too?
Was she? I don't remember.
She was omitted from that too. If I'm not mistaken, her and one other person, it might have been the Brat, were omitted from it. And she said something about it. So this is becoming a problem. That's why I have a problem with Foxy being omitted, because this is the second time something major dedicated to hip hop from the female MC perspective has been, on national airwaves, and Foxy's been omitted for the second time. And so somebody got their hands in something, and they're blackballing her I want to find out who it
We
is. That's
got
some
to do our
bullshit.
investigator reporting on this one.
Right. I want to find out who's shading Foxy out because this is the second time it's happened and it ain't no coincidence. So somebody is behind the scenes making sure she don't get her proper shine and run
I mean,
on a
this is
major level.
super. This is
On a
super.
major level.
Yeah.
On a major level. So
Yeah.
it's somebody with major pull.
Because this is super mainstream to the point my mom hit me this morning. Was like, "Did you see the females in hip hop thing, whatever?"
And whoever,
you know,
and Mike, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, and whoever doing it is a fuck nigga.
The strong words. Listen,
They are.
I don't expect people like, well, King Mark said Lady Luck was a lyrical beast. I fuck with Lady Luck. I don't expect Lady Luck,
Luck's nice.
Mia X, Gangsta Boo, or Bahamadia to be on ABC. But
Heather B.
I don't know. I kind of expect that. They left her out too, but I get it. All Glocks down, whatever. Or
Part of
Nonchalant.
Boogie Down Productions, Mike. She was part of BDP.
Oh yeah. But Foxy, man, like to leave her out, that's just something else is going on, and we got to find out what's going on.
Because no. This is why I'm saying whoever doing it is a fuck nigga, Mike. Because it's like, grow up.
Right.
It's been 20 years. Grow up.
And you know what? That's why I was really happy to see that she was on King's Disease, and I'm glad whatever was going on with her and Nas, they were able to, just get past it. Because like you said, grow up. We grown. Whoever's holding this over,
let her get some flowers. Like, for real, whoever doing this is a real sucker.
Because the part I hate about this, Coop, man, and God forbid, you know how it is. Somebody dropped dead for whatever reason. Everybody's on. So, oh, man, you were the greatest. Queen, this and that. You want to... Yeah, stop that, man.
Well, Mike, let's get into it a little bit. Didn't she lose her hearing in one ear?
Yeah.
Didn't that have something to do with why she stopped recording music?
She didn't have to record anything else. Her impact is
what it
is.
But didn't that have something to do with it?
It did.
Her career got inhibited by something. Stop being a fuck nigga.
Kay Thompson brings up another good one, Lady of Rage. And the fact that they brought up the East Coast, West Coast thing and didn't even insert her in there, it's politics. It is what it is. Whoever's playing whatever game with whoever gets mentioned, I guess. But I'm just glad that they were able to get the Sha Rock thing.
Real suckers out there, man.
I'm sorry,
there's some real suckers in
the
this
Sha Rock
industry,
thing,
man.
right? Now, I will say this, man. I know you wanted to give it a failing grade because of the Foxy, but I will give them props for the Sha Rock thing. I'll give them props for that. That was big and they gave her a full segment, and I'm glad they did because no one was doing that before. But leaving out Foxy, man, that's weird.
It's the second time it's happened, so I'm handing out Fs.
I didn't realize that, man. I mean,
go back and check the Lady of Hip Hop honors on VH1.
Wow.
Foxy went on a whole rant the next day about being left out of it. So this is something that is being like effectively like transacted against her. Like,
I'm actually checking Instagram right now, man. I want to see if Foxy had anything to say about this. Somebody asked in the chat, who you got, Kim or Foxy? Like it's just straight spitting.
Straight spitting Foxy. If we talking catalog, it's Kim. Catalog and impact is Kim. If we just talking going bar for bar, like how about this? Kim wasn't about to show up and show out at that point. Like Foxy was better earlier than Kim was to me as an MC. So like what Kim did on like Quiet Storm remix
Foxy
and on All About the Benjamins, Foxy came into the game doing that on the I Shot You remix. So Foxy was better earlier. It took Kim a while MC-wise.
No, you're right.
In my opinion, to get where Foxy came in at. She was just a natural talent. She was a beast, Mike. Like her delivery, like she had the best delivery on the I Shot You remix, Mike.
She did. And, a lot of those records...
Keith Murray's on there. Prodigy's on there. Fat Joe's on there, Mike, an integral part of hip-hop.
Right, Fat Joe's everywhere. Everywhere. But, you're right.
That's one of Joe's best verses, Mike.
That is one of Joe's best verses. I'd rather be
feared than loved because the fear lasts longer.
You know what? That answers my question.
Nobody's stronger than these weaklings, sequeling, knuckleheads, beware. There's mad tension in the air. Tommy guns for fun, shotties for block parties. My fresh lead heat up your insides like a fifth of Bacardi.
So that's your favorite Fat Joe verse?
It might be his best.
And
Because he
you
really
know
had to
what?
come with it because of who was on the
I
record.
was just about to say, and in the grand scheme of things, where does that actually rank on the song?
Mike, I always thought Prodigy had the best verse lyrically on there, but Foxy's verse is the scene stealing verse because her delivery is crazy on there, Mike. Her delivery on that beat is crazy. So if
You're
you want to
not
talk
gonna say
lyrically, it's
Foxy had a better
Prodigy.
verse than Prodigy on there, are you?
Huh?
You're not gonna say Foxy had a better verse than Prodigy on
No,
there, are
she
you?
didn't, Mike. Prodigy's verse on there is a
Yeah.
scene stealer, Mike.
And I love Keith Murray's verse too.
I love Keith Murray's verse, but how about this? Here's where I have it. It's like for me, it's Prodigy's first and Foxy is second, and I don't give a damn really after that. It's like however you want to mix it up, but they're clearly the 1 and 2 on that song to me.
My verbal contact's like a mini Mac to get back. Soon as one of you niggas try to overreact.
Wow.
I love Keith Murray. Keith Murray has one of my favorite one-liners, like, or first bar liners, or however you want to say it, when he come in there. Y'all mythological niggas is comical. My astronomical is coming through like the flu, bombing you. Who starts a song like that? Jesus.
No. Like Murray was nice. It's just that Prodigy verse, Mike. The Prodigy verse is right after.
But see, Prodigy was at the top of his game and lyrically at the top of shit, man. Let's just keep it real. Prodigy was at the top of New York. At that point, like, there were steps. Nas is here because you got, verbal intercourse, but you're right around here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he hovering in 95.
You hovering in 95. And
hard.
Jay hadn't found his stride yet, so it wasn't like Jay was getting on features, especially like when shit was grimy in New York, like 95, 96, and jumping on songs like that and shining. It wasn't like that.
Lyrically in 95, Prodigy's probably like top 5 coming out of New York, for sure.
Yeah. I like the combination of Prodigy and Keith Murray in that era. I wish they could have done more together. They sounded good together.
Mike, they had whole issues behind the interlude on the Infamous, right?
I know. Yeah, they had whole issues, but they sounded so good together.
No, Mike, they really got into a fight.
I know.
Yeah, they really
Keith Murray was a fighter, man. Probably still is, but you know what I mean. Like, Keith Murray said he swung on Tupac, and I believe it. And niggas was coming down on him like, saying, yeah, right, you beat up Tupac. Tupac was a man. He wasn't a god.
Like, right, yeah. Like, and Mike, Pac was smaller than me and you. Like, Pac wasn't a big dude. Prodigy not a big dude.
Yeah.
Like, people talk about Pac like Pac was like 6'4", 250. Pac was like 5'7", 165.
How do I survive in the city with a skinny Knicks tie? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, man. All right. So, we're going to get back to this versus, though. Who did you have winning? I mean, who won?
I mean, you want to know what? KRS won the versus, but Kane was the big overall winner because I think everybody knew KRS-One had the records, but Kane did a lot for his legacy. Like Kane did more for his legacy last night than KRS did for his, even though KRS won. KRS kind of did and came what we expected him to do.
So is KRS number 1 in his class, like he said?
Those Rakim records because here's the thing. Go line up, what are KRS's 10 best records?
All right, let's go to the list, right?
Yeah, let's go to the list.
KRS 10 best records. I'm just going to go to the ones that he performed. Criminal Minded, I think, is one of those. I think My Philosophy is one of those. I think South Bronx is one of those. I think The Bridge is Over is one of his 10 best records. What do y'all think his 10 best records are? Don't leave me out here alone. Maybe MC's Out Like They Don't Know is there.
Yeah, that's a top 10.
How many am I at?
I think you're at 5.
Okay. I think Love's Gonna Get You is one of his better records. You don't think so?
I'll take that. No, that's top 10-ish.
I think
I got
Sound of the Police.
You know what I mean? What was the record you just named?
Sound of the Police.
I think that has to be in there.
Black Cop?
I don't know about Black Cop. You think Black Cop's one of his 10 best records?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Still number 1?
Yeah.
9mm Goes Bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9mm goes bangers on his 10 best records.
That shit's hard.
That shit ridiculous.
I mean, I know where we're going. Yeah, Rakim's 10 best records are smashing me.
That's what I'm saying, Mike. That's what the real problem is that he's not the performer that Kane or KRS or Slick Rick or LL are either.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, I just look the records I just wrote down from Rakim, Paid in Full, I Ain't No Joke, I Know You Got Soul, My Melody, Eric B is President, Follow the Leader, Microphone Fiend, Lyrics of Fury, Mahogany, Juice, Know the Ledge, Don't Sweat the Technique. No, Mike, he not. He number 2.
Ghetto. All right, so
In the Ghetto.
Let's see. Rakim's number 1 in
Casualties
that era.
of War, Pass the Hand Grenade. No.
Okay, so Rakim's number 1 in that era. KRS is 2. Is Kane 3? I have to say so.
I find Cool G Rap to be better lyrically than Kane. I kind of always did, but yeah, it's Kane.
Like you said earlier, man, his versatility. And he has everything.
He has everything
big
but
ass
that catalog. Yeah.
All right, so we got Rakim, KRS, Kane, and then you going G-Rap or you going Slick Rick? Or LL?
I'm gonna go G-Rap.
You're gonna go G-Rap over LL and Slick Rick?
I am. That's just personal preference and aesthetic, though.
And then you're going LL and then Slick Rick?
I'm more partial to Slick Rick than I am LL. The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick is the first rap album I ever heard. I still got the copy sitting right here. Yeah, I'm going Slick.
I'm gonna go Rakim, KRS, LL, Kane. Damn, man, I'm so partial to Slick. I'm like you, man.
I'm a MC guy, Mike. Like, I'm going with like the rhymes in the catalog, and so like.
So what does it say about LL exactly? Like,
Mike, I told you this is the best crop of era MCs. You're not gonna find 5 MCs like this from any era that's gonna freeze LL out in any other era.
Do you think? I know what I think, but and I'm gonna get into that. Do you think that LL had some help writing or something? Like, why are the elite MCs not acknowledging, what LL lyrically was in his time? Like,
because he wasn't them in his time.
But he was. What do you mean?
Not lyrically,
them?
Mike.
Like, lyrically?
No, lyrically, Mike. If you were to listen to like Cool G Rap in 88, 89 and listen to LL, like, no, you can't say that, Mike.
I'm gonna ask you about the Fat Joe shit. What's LL's best verse?
Ooh, Mike, I'm just partial to Mama Said Knock You Out as a whole.
I would say the breakthrough, right? That's what I don't know if that's cheating, but I would say the breakthrough. And even that, lyrically, L is more about delivery.
Right.
L is about delivery and song making. And
he's about the whole song. He's about the totality of the song.
Yeah. And it's hard for me to even listen to Jingling Baby without hearing Kane. Now, I don't know if Kane wrote it or not. I just know Marley Marl produced it, and it sounds just like Kane. But it's hard, and I think that's one of his lyrically strongest. Like, honestly, if you ask me what is LL's strongest song lyrically, I'm gonna say Jingling Baby remix. But it sounds just like Kane on there. Just
I would
like
say I'm
Fresh
Bad or
Prince
Mama
sounds,
Said Knock You Out.
Uncle L, Future of the Funk. Yeah, he was going in on there. I love Mama Said Knock You Out, though. Damage. But again, a lot of that's delivery and voice.
Shadow boxing when I heard you on the radio.
This is what I will say about
LL.
No. I think LL has one of the more underrated rap voices in hip hop. I think he has one of the best
rap voices and delivery.
Yeah.
No, underrated, understated, yes.
Especially for the time. But lyrically, I think that's where he kind of lacks off a little bit in relation to his counterparts. You think Slick Rick is lyrically better than LL, sounds like.
I do. I always have thought that, though, Mike. That and maybe that was just how I was raised to believe it, too. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you think that? You think that, well, shit, if we talk about a children's story, it's hard to say that LL has a verse lyrically better than a children's story, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how about this? When you're saying like is Slick Rick a lyricist? It's like that's what I'm saying. Like when did the art of storytelling come out? 97? 98?
98, yeah.
He going back and forth with Raekwon and Nas on tracks in 98. Yeah, he can lyrically spit. He's literally going back and forth with
Well, what
Raekwon
about,
in
you know,
98.
the Outkast joint?
What about it?
I mean, he killed that art of storytelling.
No, that's what I'm saying,
Throwing
Mike. When
things,
you like
yelling
a
at a
Slick Rick a
high
lyricist, it's like, well, damn, like past his prime, rapping next to the best rappers in their prime,
Yeah.
it sounds pretty goddamn great.
Oh, straight up,
You
man.
know?
1998 is Andre 3000's prime, in my opinion. I think Big
Right.
Boy's height might have been 2000 because he was rapping crazy on Stank on It. But I think Andre's height as an MC was 98, and Slick Rick came right after the Sasha Thumper story with the whole, you know, throwing things, yelling at him at high pitch. Yo, here we go again with this psychopath. Miss, the neighbors are here, you misfit. Great verse. Incredible. I love it. He stole the show. He's Slick Rick. He has this persona that he gets on anything, he could take it over. And
Well, Mike, he's one of the
felt
few
that
guys.
with LL on Rampage, but you really don't, you know,
So
feel
this
that
is
with
what I'm
everything.
saying. Like, Slick Rick not only is more lyrically inclined, but he's one of the few rappers that can really kill you on style alone.
People in here are saying that we're tripping. JC88 says LL is lyrical. Y'all are tripping. All right.
I didn't say he wasn't lyrical.
We're
Hold on,
not
so
saying
let's
he's
back up
not
for-
lyrical.
No.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to back up for a second. That's what I'm saying about this era. This is the best era of lyricists. So putting LL at 6, that's not a knock to him. That's a mark of how strong this class is at MCing.
It's hard
Ain't
to
nobody
say.
knocking L. L is great. Like I said, in any other era, he wouldn't be frozen out of a top 5. But Mike, like you cannot tell me that lyrically he's better than Cool G Rap or
I think
Kane
overall.
or
I think
Rakim
overall. But
or
yeah, you're right.
KRS-One. And if you want to go to the Slick Rick, it's like Slick Rick is going to beat him a few different ways.
Yeah, if we're talking
Nothing
straight up
personal.
lyricists, yes, he is on the back end of that. It's hard for me to even say that lyrically, taking out the hit songs and all that stuff, it's hard to say lyrically LL is not Cool G Rap, Cool Mo D. And see, again, when people are talking about the hits and they say LL wants Jay-Z, because I think that's who LL really wants, because who else is there out there in the verses for him? I just think Jay-Z as a lyricist is just not a good matchup for L. Like, lyrically, he's too strong. And we're not saying LL isn't lyrical, but if we sit here and break it down with his counterparts and the people he's in the class with, this is why people leave LL out of their top 10. And they shouldn't do that. But this is why.
Mike, I'm going to ask you a question right now.
Go ahead.
Where would you put Jay-Z lyrically in this class from this era as a lyricist?
As a lyricist, I'm putting him right behind Rakim, honestly.
Okay, so you think he's a better lyrical bar for bar rapper than KRS and Cool G Rap?
I do.
Okay.
And Kane. Who wanna bet us that we don't touch leather, stack cheddars forever, live treacherous, all live et cetera. To the devil. I gotta give Jay his shit. Now he dumbed his shit down over time. But Jay, when he's on his shit, when Jay on his shit,
y'all feel the ambiance. Y'all niggas just run.
Yeah, when he's on his shit, he's on his shit. So I give him that. He's right there. And it's hard for me to even say that LL's even in his class when it comes to that. Now, if we're talking about the records and impact, does Jay have a record with more impact than Rock the Bells? Probably not.
No.
And I think Rock the Bells would probably be LL's best chance at beating Slick Rick on Children's Story. And I still think a Children's Story gets that.
Not winning, but yeah, that is his best chance.
Yeah, he's not winning that. But yeah, I think that's the problem that LL's overall legacy poses, is the fact that lyrically, if you stack him up against these people who are top 10-ish, he doesn't. I mean, I love L, and I think that I would have to. It hurts
when you're 6 in your era as an MC. It's just the strongest era for MCs lyrically.
The thing is, and I've said this for years, like Biggie is Biggie, right? 2 albums. How do we put Biggie ahead of LL? You can't. If you look at the totality, you can't. The only thing people are looking at is how strong lyrically Biggie is in comparison to LL lyrically.
No, Mike, he has the records in those two
He does.
albums.
He does.
That's what's so frightening. He has enough records in those two albums.
I think that it's clear that, you know, in a vacuum, if Biggie would have continued, yes, it would be undeniable. But it's hard to do that without the work. That's like we do with Lauryn Hill, right? Like, we know Lauryn Hill's the best female MC we ever heard. She don't have the work. And so I can't put her above MC Lyte. And I know it's a different situation because she's not dead or whatever, like Big is. But it's the same concept where it's like, I know Lauryn, if she continued on, she would hands down be the best female MC ever.
Biggie wasn't
we can't
here
do that.
to keep recording.
What's that?
He wasn't here to keep recording.
I understand that, but regardless if you're here or not, Len Bias wasn't here either. We can't put him in the Hall of Fame.
Len Bias didn't play a day of pro basketball.
He was giving Michael Jordan the business in North Carolina. We know that. We know that if Len Bias, let's just keep it real.
Everybody the business when he was at Maryland.
Let's
but his
keep it
behind
real.
the scenes business kept him from playing a pro game.
I understand that, but let's keep it above. The man went to the Celtics. He was drafted number, what was it? Was that number 1 to the Celtics?
I thought it was like 3 or 4.
Something like that.
He's in the top 6.
He was going to Boston. And he had that skill set. That nigga was not going to fail. He was not going to be a bust, as they say. And I don't even like using that anymore.
He looked like he had 25, 8, and 5 written on all over him.
Oh, yeah. But we can't give him that because he didn't go out there and play it. And, you know, like Darnell Lee said, man, I mean, LL got the catalog. He just does. And there's something to be said about longevity.
Biggie right now has enough of a catalog to do a versus with LL.
I understand what you're saying, but I think there's something to be said about the longevity of it all, right? Like, we don't know if Biggie's third album would have been a flop. Could have been great.
Right.
Could have been trash. Who knows? Because that's like if we cut DMX off, you know, rest in peace, at the knees. Let's see if we cut him off after the second album. We wouldn't have seen all those, you know, the drop-offs. You know what I mean? And
but those 2 albums are enough to do a versus too. Like DMX's first 2 albums are enough to do a versus.
What I'm saying is, when a person's career lasts long and they're able to continue on, you got to. You're
saying they need to be given respect and flowers and held up higher for that, for the longevity of it, because essentially that's what we're doing with Nas right now this year with the King's Disease too. I totally get you. So what I would submit to you is that LL's longevity, although it has been a great thing, it hasn't been as impactful. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying. But
like, when's the last time? For me, the last time L was a really big deal was when he dropped Mr. Smith.
I was gonna say Mr. Smith was probably,
That was 95, Mike.
That's 9 years in the game.
So when you're talking about his longevity, it's like, the longevity's been there, but how impactful has the longevity been to the culture? Because I feel like Mr. Smith was the last time that it was impactful to the culture. And that's not to say that he has not been impactful to the culture in a multitude of ways since then, because I kind of look at LL and Ice Cube and comparable since now. It's like, well, there's what they did for rap, and then there's what they did for hip hop as a whole with how they branched off and ventured into things.
But I think you're looking at it in today's terms. Let's dial back into 1995. Nobody was even that relevant from his era, and that's just the truth.
No, but that's why I'm bringing that up. But that's the last time that it happened. And so let's say he got here before all of them, and he lasted longer. But when you go look at the trail of hip hop trees, it's like, listen to the guys that we just talked about. Those guys are spinoffs of the other guys we talked about. And that's part of why LL is 6'2", is because those 5 guys, you can hear their influence in a crop of MCs more than you can hear LL's. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, he's kind of a one-off situation. People in the chat are saying Headsprung was a hit, and that was 03. Was that 03? No, I thought that was that was 04. Headsprung was trash.
I didn't say it wasn't a hit. I said impactful. I like Headsprung, actually.
I don't like Headsprung. Now, I like Love You Better. Love You Better was great.
Love You Better is one of his best songs, Mike.
That's a hit. And I feel like that was his last great song on, as far as like the LL we know. radio, and he's done some street songs that was pretty dope, I thought. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of Headsprung. Lord of
They call
Mercy,
me Big Illy.
yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't feeling that shit. Now, Love You Better was great.
Love You Better is great. It's a better record than Headsprung for sure. No question.
I mean, but let's keep it real though, and I think we've asked this question on According to Hip Hop. Let's just say, right now, 2021, or I know we're going into 2022. That's what I was thinking. If Rakim, KRS, Kane, and LL all dropped an album or a single or whatever, which one has the best chance of dropping a hit?
Oh, that's L.
Okay.
That's L, without a question.
What's
but
the
who's
last?
dropping the better? Who's dropping the best project of the four of them?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I will put my money on Chris.
Rakim's done I would say Rakim because Rakim's the one that's actually done the most album work in the last 10 years.
I'm okay with the Rakim choice. I would say Rakim too. Because even when you don't really love where Rakim's coming from, and I'm speaking for myself, you don't really love the production, the lyricism is always there. I mean, he showed us that even on the Busta Rhymes joint last year.
Holy Are You off the Seventh Seal. Yeah, like he can still get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we pretty much wrapped that up, man. You answered all of the questions I had with the verses, and it sounds like, again, KRS took it. But, you know, I think Kane came up the biggest winner because I think his legacy builds and people understand what all the fuss was about. I hate we didn't get a chance to see the Rakim and Kane thing. I don't think we're going to see a Rakim versus. I like your theory of the LL and Slick Rick versus. I think that would be pretty good. I think that that's the only person LL has left out there. I don't think Busta Rhymes has anybody out there other than Wayne. And the way Busta's kind of going about this, I don't think Wayne will do it. Lil Wayne doesn't need to do a versus.
Nas is the only person that has the gravity of songs to cut down the best shit in Rakim's catalog. That's one of the biggest problems with Rakim too. It's not just that he's not as good on stage as KRS and Kane. It's the gravity of these records, Mike. Like, you need some other shit to take these records down. Nas is really the only one that got some other shit. Like, Jay got some of it on Reasonable Doubt and some joints on Volume 1. But Mike, Rakim rolling about 15 deep with some records, and it's just him on the records where it's like, them records are problems.
You know, I think that, and we could talk about this before we go out, I think that for whatever reason, people are putting these bugs out there that, you know, they're trying to get Jay. I think Jay wants to do a versus against Nas. I think Nas doesn't want to do it. But I think the biggest problem with Jay in a versus, what direction are you going to go? Like, what direction are you going to go? You have a fan base that wants you for a lot of different things. He has kind of like a Michael Jackson career, right? Where it's like, our parents know Michael Jackson from a certain era. You got the people who grew up in the Thriller era who know Michael Jackson from a certain era. You got people who grew up in like the dangerous, further out Michael Jackson and know him from that era, and they gravitate to different parts of him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what Jay are you gonna get? And I guess it depends on who you're going against. But when it comes to Nas, we know what we want, and we know what Nas is gonna play for the most part.
So so that's where Jay is boxed into a corner, is because it's like, well, if Nas were to do a versus, we're getting Illmatic records.
Yeah.
Which means you can't play none of that happy hit making shit. It ain't gonna come off well against those records. And so just because of Illmatic and the records on that album, it kind of puts Jay in a certain box where it's like, well, no, you can't do Ain't No Nigga. You got to do The Evils.
Darnell Lee says Jay has B-sides that could possibly contend with Nas, and I agree with that. But
that's what I'm saying. But he's going to have to play those and play those properly.
That's the thing, though. They're heralding him high off of hits. So a lot of the people that know Jay don't know these B-sides like that. So he's going to be pushed into playing some of these weaker records, which are the hits, that aren't his strongest shit. Like, people want to hear Big Pimpin'. But it's not a strong song when you go
You
against.
better not. That's what I'm saying. Doing that is going, like Mike, and I'm not being joking when I'm saying this. It's like, oh, if he do that against Nas, he gonna get waxed.
No, for real. Because Nas is not gonna play You Owe Me. Nas is not gonna play You Owe Me. He don't have to.
No, he don't have to.
No.
Right. So this is what I'm saying is like Jay gonna have to play PSA, Lucifer, Rhyme No More, 1,000,001 Questions, Where I'm From, Streets Is Watching. He got to play those records.
Let's look at some of Jay's tours, though. And I don't know when's the last time you seen Jay live, but I know when I saw Jay live, and I'm going to go back, I saw him right before the Black Album. And he performed for like a good 2.5 hours with nothing but bangers. He didn't perform anything from Volume 1. I don't think he does, period. So I don't see him jumping in the verses playing anything from Volume 1 or that time period.
If he were to jump into a verses with Nas and leave Volume 1 off, he's going to lose.
He's not going to play. When's the last time you seen Jay perform anything from Volume 1?
That's what I'm saying.
He might do Where I'm From every now and then, but that's it.
But that B-side shit that Fam is talking about, most of that stuff is on Reasonable Doubt in Volume 1. That's what I'm saying. Where I'm From, Rap Game, Crack Game, You Must Love Me.
DeCarlo says, y'all
underestimate Imaginary Player.
Yeah. DeCarlo says, y'all underestimate how those hits are going to go off in a verses.
Not Against the World Is Yours in New York State of Mind.
I think the hard hitting.
That shit ain't gonna go well when New York State of Mind come on. No, it's not.
He needs more of maybe like a What More Can I Say? He needs more of the public service announcements. The
99 Problems is a good hit record to play.
I'm not a huge fan of 99 Problems, but I get it. You know, I mean,
you don't like 99 Problems? I love 99 Problems.
It's
Mike.
Cool. You know, I don't know. It's cool. It's cool. I mean,
it's gonna sound great live too.
It would sound great live. I mean, you know, Rick Rubin's production and all that, like it comes
Stadium
through.
Flow. Yeah, Stadium Flow.
It comes through definitely. But yeah, I think that Jay would have a big task at hand when it comes to song selection. And if he were to hypothetically do a versus, I think he would be more compelled to do more current things, because as current as he's always been in his career from day one, it doesn't help the older stuff age better, if that makes any sense.
Like the only one of Nas's like actual hit records that he would probably play is If I Rule the World. Like he's not playing Street Dreams. He's not playing that. Like he's not playing those records. He's not playing Hate Me Now. No, he's playing Dr. Not says, like no.
Right. JC88 says 99 Problems was trash. Donnell Lee says 99 was okay to me. I like the video. They say Renegade is overrated. Yeah, well, you know, I don't even want to get on that topic, but yes.
That's what I'm saying. He's got to be on his You Don't Know shit against Nas. That's what I'm saying.
I want to say this about Renegade. Renegade shouldn't have been on that album. You listen to production. You can't sit there and tell me you're listening to the Renegade beat and you listening to the You Don't Know beat and the Heart of the City beat, and you're like, yeah, this belongs on this album.
Yeah.
But we know what that's about. Right. Well, we're going to meet up. Well, shit, today's Tuesday. My days are all thrown off. We
used to Wednesday.
Yeah, we're going to get on live tomorrow. We're going to do the top 10 Wu-Tang albums. We're counting the solo stuff. We're counting the group stuff. And I already got my list. You got your list ready to go?
I have my list sitting right next to me right now. It's still been sitting down here. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
I didn't realize how tough it was going to be to pick the 10 best albums coming out of this camp, because I'm going to tell you what, so Mike, I'm just going to ask you a quick question. How many Ghostface albums are in your top 10?
Of Wu-Tang albums, I got 2.
You only got 2 that made it?
Yeah, I only got 2 that made it.
Okay.
I'm going to be fair. Nah, man, because, I mean, those add up quick. I only got 1 Ray in there. Pretty much one of each. I got 3 Wu-Tang albums in there, though.
That's funny. I got 3 Wu-Tang albums in there, too. But I got kind of like a caveat of an album I want to talk about, Mike. And since we're going in order.
You talking about Inspector, probably.
Nope. I'm actually talking about, you want to know what we're going to talk about tomorrow? I'm just going to give people a little insight. Don't forget the Old Dirty Bastards. Nigga Please is a great album.
Nigga Please is fire. You know what? I skipped over that. Nigga Please is fire. It
Nigga
also, but
Please
see,
is
the thing
fire.
about Nigga Please is the fact that it's not. It don't feel like a Wu-Tang album.
It doesn't. It feels nothing like a Wu-Tang album.
I'm gonna go listen to Nigga Please tonight. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna listen to, because the ones that are in that back half debate, and I'm just gonna say, and I'm gonna need to listen to all three of these today. Nigga Please, The Pillage, and Takal.
Takal somewhere in my back too. We're gonna talk about Takal too.
Yeah. I've never listened to you guys' album. Have you?
Yeah, I have. I listened to you guys' album.
Okay. I'll listen to that today too. Just
so, Mike, I already know what our biggest argument's about to be tomorrow, and this is what people really need to tune in for. Tomorrow, Mike and I, because I already know our first two albums are probably the same, Mike, but tomorrow we're going to argue about Liquid Swords versus Supreme Clientele, and that's what people should really tune in for, because I have a feeling you're picking Supreme Clientele over Liquid Swords, so we about to fight.
Okay. All right. Well, definitely. And I love Liquid Swords. They're definitely
Mike.
side by side for me. What was I gonna say? I know you don't like Capadonna like I do, so I thought that was gonna be one of the.
We about to argue about that too, because I knew he's probably gonna pull that move too. I'm excited.
I'm gonna listen to The Pillage. I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna listen to The Pillage. I'm gonna listen to Takal, and I'm gonna listen to Nigga Please. And yeah, those are kind of back half of the Wu-Tang stuff. And I'm gonna listen to the W too. I gotta be fair. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the W is. I think all four of those are in a certain range. What do you think about? And we can go after this. You didn't include Judgment Day, right? To Cal 2000.
Didn't even register.
Okay, I'm gonna go listen to that again too, because it got its moments. See how well it aged. I just didn't like the single Judgment Day. I think that was again one of those moments where we heard something that we didn't want to hear from the person that we got it from at that time. Little Electric Circus.
You want to know what, Mike? About
stuff.
You saying that, I'm about to go listen to it too. I'm actually going to listen to that first, just because you said that.
Yeah, because Dangerous Grounds is heavy, and it wasn't like Method Man fell off, because he jumped right back around.
Play for Keeps, Party Crasher,
Sweet Love.
Sweet Love. Oh, Sweet Love. Yeah.
I'm gonna give that album a shot again too, and maybe we were being unfair for Method Man at the time. So
I felt like that album was too long when it came out, and that was the problem with it.
Got a lot of
memory serves. Yeah.
Got a lot of skits.
All right, man. Let's do it tomorrow. Wu-Tang Wednesday. Wu-Tang is forever.
Wu-Tang forever.